your work really delves into keeping the job, which I think a lot of people aren't aware of and might even be more terrified to find out about.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
what we see at the surveillance at
yeah,
work.
like for instance, and I know there was an explosion of this during COVID. Once people were working remote, and then companies were like, we need software to know whether people are actually in their underpants or not. And we need to figure out like what people are doing at home. But now companies are starting to deploy AIs that not only see how like active you are, but they try to predict whether or not the company should fire you, not based on what you're doing now, but what the company thinks you might want to maybe do or not do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's often like, it's called like a digital neighbor or something. Like sort of like the idea is like you are a vice president of sales of North America, so there might be a vice president of sales in Europe, and one of them is like might be more successful or not. That's actually kind of vague and hard. But for the sake of this example, we'll assume, okay, maybe the European person is better at their job. And so then an AI will like sort of take in all of the digital traces that you leave, how many emails you send, how many Zoom meetings you attend, are you a bully in Zoom meetings, do you speak up? Like it can kind of assess a lot of different things and then tell the person in the US like, hey, the person that has your job in Europe and like sells more or whatever, like is more successful, they do this. Why aren't you doing that?
Damn.
It's sort of like a clone of like looking at all of everything that gets recorded. And, it's sort of like, I don't know, we have different ways to be successful. Like maybe you write 500 emails. The next person is successful by doing like 100 in-person meetings a week. That's probably not possible. But, maybe they do 50 a week. Who knows? But we sort of, and, what does it mean to be successful? Like we had this like whole thing, probably don't remember this, and I might be dating myself, but there used to be like algorithms in New York City to assess teachers like 20 years ago or so. Like every parent was like, I want to know how good my teacher is. Well, it turns out like these algorithms were terrible. And a lot of teachers were like put in rubber rooms because their students didn't gain enough knowledge in a year. But it could be that they were already at the top.
Wait, the teachers were put in what?
They're called rubber rooms when teachers were not in the classroom anymore, but they were still on the payroll of the Department of Education. They called them rubber rooms at the time.
Rubber rooms.
Yeah.
Oh, because in my head I was like picturing a room.
Like, they had to go somewhere to.
I was like a room made of rubber. What?
No, it sounds like a cell. I think it wasn't a cell.
Okay, no, because you just went through that. You were like they put the teachers in rubber rooms, and then I was like, wait, they did what to them?
So
they just called it a rubber room. Huh.
I don't actually know the history of that. Good question.
Yeah, I want to know.
You want to know about the rubber rooms?
Yeah, no. If someone's taking me to a rubber room, I want to know what a rubber room is.
I would actually.
You would love
take
to go
you to the rubber room.
Oh wow!
Oh my god!
Wow.
I don't know if I want to go there.
Wow!
You gotta get paid for free. You don't have to do nothing. Wouldn't you want to be in a rubber room at some point?
Play squash.
Play.
Good place
in a rubber room.
Good place to fall in a rubber room.
I still can't believe how digital peeping Tom and the digital tattletales is just everywhere now.
Yeah. It is everywhere. I mean, it starts like super benign with like your green light on your email, like are you active or not? That's sort of like a way.
Yeah.
And then we see when people realize, oh, everything gets recorded. We see sort of what we call productivity theater. That people like
slow it down. Do you say productivity theater?
Yeah, it's like sort of gaming the algorithms. So you
like
sort of
acting like we're busy.
Exactly. So like in the morning, like you check in on Slack and be like, hey, everyone, good morning. Like 7:45, crazy. And then you turn around and take your dog for a walk and then you don't show up at your desk at 10. But smoke and screens. You were productive at 7:45. An algorithm will now be able to understand that you haven't sent any emails in an hour.
Can I tell you what you've just done, though? You have, in a single sentence, unraveled one of the greatest mysteries I have struggled with working in an office. I remember the first time and only time I worked in an office. I was always shocked by how some people were just constantly sending emails and messages. And I always felt like they were unnecessary. And they were always at random times, sometimes on a weekend. I was like, what? But now when you put it that way, I go, they weren't working. They were trying to maintain the appearance of working.
Productivity
So
theater.
you just you send a message at 6 a.m. and people are like, man, you up at 6 a.m.?
Yeah, wow. emails at 3 a.m. What
Huh.
the?
Well, you just don't stop working.
Yeah. And, I do think that.
Meanwhile, you just left the club.
Send.
Schedule send.
Schedule send.
Schedule send.
Schedule send. Look at this.
Yeah. But, think about it. Like the office was like sort of always a place to look for productivity, right? Because you had a manager look at everyone who's working. And if you left early, that was not so good.
Yep.
Even though, we know that some people just like sat at their computer, surfed the internet and didn't do any work, but they were physically at their seats. We didn't have the technology to actually like sort of see every one of their clicks and what they're doing. And now we do. And sort of we can sort of look at everything you do. But like the question is like, is this kind of analysis really meaningful to understand how many emails you sent? Does that actually have anything to do if you are productive or successful? And what does successful in this job mean?
Those computer systems you're speaking about, I remember reading about how warehouses also using it. Like this is something that I hope people understand will be pervasive across all jobs. Because if you work in an office where you're using a computer, they can track your clicks, they can track your typing, see what you're doing and how you're doing it. But in warehouses, I've seen that now they're deploying AI camera systems that see how many employees take bathroom breaks or don't take bathroom. I swear, how long you spend in the bathroom, how quickly you actually move one package over to the next, and they look at that.
Productivity algorithms. How many like items do you put in a box per minute, per hour?
Now imagine your bladder is the reason that because you've got a smaller bladder than another person, you're getting fired.
Technically, that would be illegal, but
but they wouldn't say it's because of that. Because they would just go like, you take excessive bathroom breaks.
Yeah, or you're falling under your productivity.
Exactly,
algorithm.
because the other people around you, they're hitting these numbers. Why aren't you hitting those numbers?
As a conspiracy theorist, I'll always say, who is benefiting from this? Who is because I look at COVID. And you explained to me how tough COVID was in the city.
Yeah.
But if you look around the world, how many running shoes have suddenly become in fashion? How many running clubs, how many running apps are being used? How many outdoor activities, hiking, you name it, that people are now having invested themselves in and investing a ton of money in because they missed being outside so much because it was taken away from them. Could it be that people that fund startups are now having the time of their life because they realize there's these educated people who are trying to get into the job market with these kind of expertise and these kind of interests, but maybe they're not going to get in there. So how about we give them a hand and make money out of them?
Sure. I mean, I think like the way we see like this kind of technology benefit is usually the companies, because that's where the money is, right? Like is an individual like going to buy success company, like Success AI, like we don't really see it. It's not really a market, right? Like the same way for like job applicants, there is some AI where you can sort of test your resume and the job description, but we see like vastly outnumbered AI for like vendors, the people that make the employment decisions, those folks, because that's where the money is. Like I sometimes dream of like, we were talking about bias and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if you have like a bias detector in job interviews that pings the hiring manager, like stop talking about your schooling. Like, this is like where bias creeps in, or at least analyze afterwards. So you get like real-time feedback, like, hey, you shouldn't really ask those questions. Like stick with the structured interviews in a job interview, for example. And we don't see that because I don't think there's really a market there to do that yet. I sometimes feel like, wouldn't it be cool? Like I have a young kid. So like if you're like a parent and you have a little AI who's like, hey, you really shouldn't get so upset with your kid. You should really say, I like how you did this and this. But like, I think a lot of parents wouldn't want to do that because as soon as you have the data, somebody else like Child Protective Services or wherever can come in. Show up and look at that and be like, the way you talk to your kid, no good. Like no one